Hi everyone, my name is Sarah and today I will be hosting this presentation on the Masters in Vision Science, Vision Impairment and Rehabilitation option. Before we start, I wanted to outline a few things. So first off, this presentation will be recorded, so your microphone and camera will be deactivated throughout the presentation. This presentation will be for 45 minutes, so 25 minutes will be set aside for the presentation and the rest of the time for questions. Please use the Q&A box to ask your questions and we'll answer them later on. And finally, this presentation will be available on the University of Montreal's open house website later on this week. So without further ado, I will now hand over the presentation to Mr. Walter Wittich, who will speak in details about the subject. Thank you and enjoy your session.
Hello. Hello, everybody, and welcome to our session today. Let me start my show, and I will tell you everything you would ever want to know about our Vision Rehabilitation Master's Program. Now, I'm going to start out giving you the name of the program website on Facebook in case you want to check out some details. There are some very neat posts on there from people that have already graduated from the program. You get to see some images about what our internship sites look like. And there are also lots of interaction going on with the people that are currently in the program. So in case you want to know more, please go ahead and find us on Facebook. Now, our campus, our building is located downtown Montreal. You have the main campus of the University of Montreal. The School of Optometry is located a little bit off to the side, not far from the corner of Côte des Neiges and Queen Mary. Excellent part of town as far as restaurants are concerned, by the way, because that entire region that you see along Côte des Neiges here is an excellent place to go for dinner. Now, the program that I want to introduce to you is our Master's in Vision Science. Now, it turns out there are multiple versions of this master's that are available on the website. In case you are interested in exploring all the options, I'm giving you a presentation in English today because two of the options that are available you can actually conduct in English. The first one is the Basic Science Master's degree, which is available in English or in French. This research degree is a degree that is specifically designed for careers in research that would lead you towards a PhD in vision science. You can do this in fundamental sciences, applied sciences, or clinical sciences, and that includes vision rehabilitation as well. In case you would be interested in doing a research degree in vision rehabilitation, that is possible. The focus for me today, however, is on our clinical program for the Master's in Vision Science that is available in English in the Vision Rehabilitation and Impairment option. So in case you're looking for the right code number, that is indicated here at the bottom of the screen. This master's degree is made up of 45 credits. It spans over 4 trimesters full-time for the coursework and can be completed in a total of 16 months. Now, 30 of those credits are specifically coursework, 8 credits are practical internships, and then there are an additional 7 credits that run in parallel through the entire program that are specifically linked to conducting a research project. This is very much comparable to what you would do at the undergraduate level in terms of an honors thesis, for example. Now, the purpose or the goal of our program is to train professionals that are able to assess the needs and intervene with people of all ages with partial or total visual impairment. So you will hear me talk about visual impairment in general. What I mean by this are people that are functionally completely blind, meaning they have no light perception, or they have so little vision that they are functionally not able to operate visually, or people with low vision, which would be a partial level of visual impairment. So they are partially sighted and partially impaired. This may be in the peripheral visual field, it may be in the central visual field, or it may be a general impairment. We're basically aiming to prepare future professionals for applied research on visual impairment and for rehabilitation of individuals with visual impairment specifically. Now, there are 3 concentrations in our program. They all run under the same master's degree, but you have 3 different program options. The first one is vision rehabilitation therapy. You will hear me talk about sight substitution. So here we're working with people whose vision is not functional enough in order for them to conduct their activities of daily living. And you see, for example, as one of the symbols here, a refreshable braille display, because these people, for example, will be working with braille. We have a low vision stream, which specifically deals with sight enhancement. So here we're dealing with people who still have partial sight and who are then rehabilitated in order to maximize the use of their partial vision. And then the third program is the orientation and mobility program, which focuses specifically on independent travel and orientation. At this point, I want to point out that our internship sites that are linked to each of these 3 programs, both for the observational internships at the beginning and then for your full clinical internships at the end, are available locally in Quebec, nationally across Canada, and also internationally. We've had interns spend their time in Dublin, in Ireland. We've had interns that have gone to Florida or to other parts of the West Coast. So if you are interested, there are some possibilities for travel because we will be able to link with various sites across the globe. So what do you do in a sight substitution specialty? Basically, you aim to improve the functional abilities and independence of people who are living life as being blind. You may have seen or may have been exposed to braille before already. So part of the program is to learn how to actually teach braille to somebody. You may not have to be fully competent in reading braille yourself, but you will learn how to teach braille to somebody across the age range. This can be with children that are growing up and discovering literacy while they're learning braille. This can be with older adults who are learning braille later in life in order to do some spot reading or get access to print information that's otherwise not accessible. This program also focuses on alternative modalities, sound and touch being the 2 main components here. There is a specific subsection of the program that focuses on people that are deafblind. We've got some good connections to deafblind services in case you're interested in sign language or tactile sign language for deafblind people. This can be incorporated in various ways. And a big component of the program focuses on assistive technologies, whether these are tactile aids or braille interfaces or other haptics such as vibrating functions. For example, for those of you who have intelligent telephones or smartphones, there are some features in these types of technologies that will alert you through vibration. So these are extremely useful for people that are living their life otherwise without sight and who use sight substitution. The low vision program, or the sight enhancement program, is really about improving the functional vision of people that still have remaining sight left in order to operate in their activities of daily living. So here now you're working with what I call low tech, no tech, or high tech. No tech are things like lighting strategies, how to improve the environment of a person at home or at work through different lighting and contrast interventions. Low tech would be things like magnifiers that you can hold with your hands or that you may carry on your face. Here, for example, is a gentleman who is reading with the use of telescopes in order to magnify the text large enough for him to see. Here, as a low-tech option, for example, you can have playing cards where the numbers and the symbols and the colors are enlarged, so you can still be able to participate socially in activities of leisure, even though your visual impairment may otherwise have prohibited this. Some of the more high-tech solutions are then magnification that requires a little bit of electricity. You see an image here of a closed-circuit television system where you can basically magnify anything that is placed underneath the screen, underneath the camera. But also the high-tech devices include portable devices like eSight, for example. These are magnification glasses that are relatively current and new, or how to use iPads and iPhones for the purpose of magnification or text-to-speech. The third option is orientation and mobility, which is really all about finding ways to get around independently. Here you're learning techniques and methods to enable independent, safe, and comfortable travel. This applies across the age span, but also across the level of visual impairment. So here you're actually working with both the populations I spoke before, whether they have low vision or whether they're blind, because some of the orientation and mobility techniques are similar or identical. They just need to be adjusted slightly. The purpose is to get around in familiar as well as unfamiliar environments. This can be indoor, this can be outdoor. For example, you will be able to work on strategies on how to travel with a guide dog. A lot of attention is paid on how to use independent strategies for using the cane, whether this is a white detection cane, as you can see in the image here, or whether it is an identification cane that also provides support while walking for older adults. And a lot of the orientation strategies are simply how to plan to get from here to there and how to make this entire interaction the safest possible. The ideal applicant is somebody who has an undergraduate degree in what I'm going to call an allied health profession. This could be occupational therapy, psychoeducation, psychology, orthoptics, kinesiology, gerontology, or any other health-related discipline. What I found very interesting a few years ago, we had an application from a student in computer development and computer science, because this was somebody who was very interested in the development of assistive technologies for people with sensory impairment. And so this student had to do a bit of catch up before the first year in order to get some training on the senses and on some of the more social components on how to interact with somebody who has a disability. So depending on what your profile is, during the interview process at the beginning of the selection period, we usually make some recommendations of what kind of information you would want to look up before you are admitted into the program. If you're somebody who appreciates new and current technologies, especially mainstream technologies, like I said, tablet computers are omnipresent and they have wonderful accessibility features. So if you're into this kind of stuff, that is going to be a big part of your daily work environment. You do want to enjoy working on teams and enjoy problem solving, because every single client, every single situation is slightly different, and you need to have a creative mind in order to find solutions for problems with your clients and with your colleagues in order to allow people to do the activities that they want to be doing. Of course, you want to have a certain passion and joy that you get out of wanting to help others, and having empathy will be a key item in being the right kind of personality for this job. Now, where do you work if you complete this kind of training? The main employment location are rehabilitation centers, whether they are private or public. In the Canadian context, this is Vision Loss Rehabilitation Canada. This used to be called the CNIB, or the Canadian National Institute for the Blind. There are also parallel versions of this in Quebec in case you want to work locally. And so that is a possibility as well, to work in the Quebec health system. There are people that take these degrees in order to work in the education system, especially those who are interested in working with visually impaired children. This is where the work with low vision or with blindness takes on an additional dimension about, for example, the acquisition of literacy. There are applied research centers that are engaging people that have this kind of skill, that may want to develop technologies, interventions, or healthcare approaches that want to consider people with sensory disabilities. We have a couple of graduates that are actually working in industry and that were hired by assistive technology device development companies, and that wanted to have a clinician on the team in order to best develop devices that are suited for the clientele. And then, of course, much like myself, I am a certified low vision therapist myself. I am working in the teaching and university context, and I also conduct applied research. There are numerous job opportunities out there, which is expressed in the fact that we have an excellent placement rate. It is close to 100%. Most of our graduates usually already have a job during their internship before they even graduate. So in terms of the timeline, if you're conducting your internship between September and December of your second year, usually by November, most of our graduates already have a job offer to start in January. They're very high in demand, specifically in Quebec, in the regions, in case you're interested in working somewhere where you might go to work with an airplane. We have somebody who is now doing their internship in northern British Columbia and is going to spend about a third of her time traveling on planes, trains, and automobiles to different parts of northern British Columbia. Across North America, there is great need, so there's also the possibility of working in the States in case that is of interest for you. And like I said earlier, we have internship placements in Europe as well. We were working on a placement in Middle America last year that did not work out, but it is possible. So for your undergraduate degree, ideally you have a grade point average of at least 3.0, the higher the better. This will likely get you onto the list of the admission interview. The interview is usually conducted in March, and we're determining whether we have sufficient applications to run our program in both languages, since we have English and French cohorts in each of our three specialties. The application deadline for the program is the 1st of February. So usually we process these applications during February, have interviews for March, and try to notify people by the end of April whether they are accepted into the program to start on the 1st of September of that same year. You want to have a letter of introduction where you tell us why. Why would you like to do this kind of work? What has brought you this? What has drawn you in? Do you know somebody who is visually impaired? Are you visually impaired yourself? We quite have a few people every year in the program that live with a visual impairment themselves. And so they become professionals in this field. You know, if you're somebody who uses braille in your everyday life, teaching braille may not be such a big step. We're looking for letters of reference from people in your environment, education and/or employment, that can tell us a little bit about how you would fit as a person into this kind of world. We would like to see your CV, and especially important for international students, in order for you to be able to obtain a visa, you should include a financial plan, since it is not advised to be working while you're studying in this program. It is a full-time program. It will absorb your time quite a bit. This here is our second cohort. This was quite a wonderful, fun gang. They're sending a big hello, and you can already tell from the faces that you're seeing on the screen right now that this is quite a cool gang. There's a certain kind of people that is attracted to this program. And every year in every cohort, we see that the people are getting along and bonding in their interest to work with people that have a sensory loss. If you would like to know more, if you want to get in touch with us at the program, please contact our program secretary at tgde@opto.umontreal.ca. Her name is Vicky. You can email with Vicky in English and/or French, and she will be providing you with the necessary information, or get you in touch with me directly in case there are questions that she cannot answer herself. So it's at this point that I would like to hand it back over to Sarah and see if you would like to moderate a little bit our question and answer period. I've left lots of time for questions and answers so we can see what people would like to know.
So yes, Mr. Walter Wittich, thank you so much. As you said, we will now be open to take questions. I will start with the first question here. Is it possible to get into this master's program with a bachelor's degree in ergotherapy?
Actually, ergotherapy or occupational therapy is probably one of the strongest bases for this program. What I've seen in the past is that, you know, people that do an undergraduate degree in occupational therapy often also do a master's in occupational therapy or ergotherapy. And what I've always found interesting is that occupational therapists spend maybe 3 hours as part of their entire master's degree training about things that have to do with vision. And so when they enter the work environment as an occupational therapist, they are really undertrained and not really secure in working with this population. So for us, this is a great starting point. If you arrive with an occupational therapy bachelor's degree, we will take you into the world of sensory loss and we will teach you everything you need to know.
Thank you so much. We have another question for you. What are the outlets in a a master's in vision science?
The outlets. Do we know what you mean by outlets? If you are still online, I would ask you to our outlook. I wonder if this meant to be employment outlooks. I'm going to pretend that that's the question. So let's say you complete this program and let's say you get hired in one of those rehabilitation centers. Like I said, most people already have a job offer before they even graduate. So we need to rein them in to make sure they finish all of their internship and their research papers. But then what happens is the question comes up, how much money do you make? That's actually not a bad point. In your first year, depending on the province, on the country, this ranges anywhere between $40,000 and $80,000 a year. It depends a little bit on the environment and the context. Something that is very interesting in current internships is that some places that have trouble recruiting people will actually offer us paid internships that come with immediate employment thereafter. So we have, for example, like I mentioned, a placement in British Columbia this year where our intern is already being paid by the organization for the 3 months of the internship and then goes into an immediate contract of 9 months of employment thereafter because this is their recruitment tool in order to hire somebody. And so that's not a bad deal. I think that that is quite attractive.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I have another question. Um, how many candidates are accepted on an annual basis?
Mm-hmm. So I can give you the maximum number of that we can accept. In the orientation program, orientation and mobility program, we basically go in packages of 6 students at a time. So we could, for example, have 6 people in the English program and 6 people in the French program, because that the number is limited by how many people are safely supervised in a lab environment. What I mean here is that if you are teaching somebody who is blindfolded, for example, how to cross the street, then if one of the students is the blindfolded guinea pig, one student is actually doing the intervention, and the third student is observing. We have 2 of those trios. That is as much as our certification body allows for one professor to supervise at the same time. So usually our orientation mobility cohort comes in packages of 6 or 12. For our low vision and our sight substitution cohorts, we go in packages of 8. That has to do with the internship supervision again, because as a clinical supervisor, I am permitted to supervise 8 students for each internship time block at a time. And so if we have more than 8 people, we need to bring in a second professor. So this year, for example, we have 16 of those. So we came in packages of 8. So in theory, if we have a full house, we can accept 12 students in O&M, 16 people in low vision, and 16 people in sight substitution. We've never had that many, but I challenge you to apply and we will see if we can make it happen.
Perfect. Thank you. We have another question for you. How would you quantify the required studying time, including homework?
All right, that's an excellent question. Now, of course, I can't predict how fast you are. We have some serious genius students that just look at a book and know what's in it. But do consider that this is a full-time program. So let me give you an example for the first trimester. In your first trimester, you have 3 theory courses that are given on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. The lectures are in the morning. We expect you to work on your assignments in the afternoon. You don't actually have lectures on Monday or Wednesday, but you have an observational internship. So what you do is, let's say you've chosen the orientation and mobility program as your concentration, then for 10 Fridays or 10 Mondays in the fall semester, you actually go to a rehab center and you follow an orientation mobility person around for 6 of those 10 days as a job shadow to see what they actually do, to see how this works. What does that day look like? You also spend another 2 days watching what happens in low vision and another 2 days what happens inside substitution. So what's interesting about this is that sometimes students will come in the first semester and say, I want to do braille, I want to do blind people, I want to work with those people, this is great. And then at the end of their observational internship, usually in November, people start knocking on my door and they say, this is not at all what I thought. I actually think that this orientation mobility thing, that's for me. The blind thing, no, the braille, no, it's not for me. So we do this in the first semester to orient people a little bit better so you actually know what you're getting into. So this means working 1 day observational, 3 days courses, and then the 4th day is dedicated to some of the activities of your research course, because your research course and your research project runs from your first semester to your 4th semester through. It's a project that sort of unrolls in parallel. So I really advise people not to work at the same time, because our students otherwise have shown signs of burnout when that is necessary, and that's never a good idea.
Thank you so much. So this brings us to the end of this session already. I would first like to thank you, Mr. Wittich, for presenting this conference today. I would also like to thank all those at home who participated in great numbers. Thank you for your interest in University of Montreal, and hope to connect with you soon.
Bye guys, take care.